Couple of tips here on how to replace a man door. This is in the garage. The homeowner had hung a new door slab on an old jamb swinging the opposite way, and it's not working out for him. So we're going to replace the whole thing. I'm going to save the hardware and save the interior casing. The door trim on the inside, I'm going to reuse that. Everything else has got to go. Just make sure the door, when you measure it, it's the same size or maybe a hair smaller. You can trim the brick mold if you need to, but yeah, smaller is usually easier than bigger, and then replace it with this new pre-hung door. So I'll get started by taking the hardware off and then go around the door and pull all the long screws out. Anything longer than 3/4 of an inch is going to fight you. So that's actually an abandoned security there, that dot. The rest of these screws got to go. And then I got ahead of myself. I pulled the door trim off right after I did this on the inside, pull the nails out and reuse that. After I get all these long screws out, I'll cut the door jamb with a Sawzall or a circular saw right across the middle and pry it out that way. Brick mold's kind of stubborn on the outside. There's not a whole lot of room, so I can't really push the whole thing out. So this ends up being easier anyway. So easier to throw away, easier to pull out. There wasn't a whole lot of nails. There's the old security. It's abandoned. I just cut that. Otherwise, you got to be careful and replace that too. So, and then I'll get the brick mold off the outside. The bottom looks like there was never any water that got under this thing. Surprisingly, there's no sealant, no caulk, no nothing under this. So it looks like they hung the door first and then poured the floor under it, which is why it's not finished. You could put concrete leveler in there and stuff, but I don't think it's going to be necessary in this particular application. The door was close enough. By trimming the top, I probably could have wedged it in there, but I didn't have any room for adjustment, so I pulled the brick mold off. And that metal plate's got to stay. This little nub here, just like a packing nut, holds the door shut while you're shipping it. But I took the door off the hinges, took the brick mold off, and dry fit the jamb. It's a little too tall for me. I ended up cutting about 3/8 of an inch off the top. And then dry fit it, centered in the hole, mark the threshold both sides. I'll put some sealant down here just to detour, any moisture, bugs, or anything from crawling in there. So beat on the front edge there and make a little dam on the outside, and then the sealant in the back, pretty much just to seal it down. Keep it from moving, keep any air from blowing through there. So after I got that in, then I centered the door in the hole and wedged the top real tight so it won't fall out. That's real important. I've had that happen. So I'm going to go with this. I'm going to line up these two mortises, the one in the jamb and the one where the doorknob goes. I'm going to line those up because there's not a whole lot of room on the outside. I don't want it to look all crooked on the outside. So very little adjustment on this. I'm going to, it's a little bit low, so I'm going to push the bottom left. I'm going to scoot the bottom to the right just a hair and shim it. And then the top, I'm going to reshim a little bit to the left. And then check my reveal, and everything looked nice. It's closing, not rubbing. So I'm going to call that good. So I shimmed the hinges, pull one of the short hinge screws out and run a long one in there, 2.5, 3-inch screw, as long as it fits in the hinge, and shim them real good and screw it to the jamb. That'll keep it from settling and that kind of stuff. So after that, I shimmed the bottom right latch side up where the framing was, above the brick there, and put a screw behind the weather stripping there, just kind of hide that a little bit. And then I did the same at the top. And the middle, I'm going to leave go till last, where it latches. I'm going to shim that last. So after I did that, got some 2.5-inch, some big screws in that deadbolt through that plate that's on the back side. And then on the outside, I kind of filled that gap on the bottom where the brick mold goes. And then I'll squish my brick molding in there, and I'll squirt foam around the rest of the door to seal everything up real good, that expanding foam. These little things, these little wedges, don't throw those away. They go on the bottom of the door to help seal it good. And then some good caulking around the outside, across the bottom, and you're good to go. So yeah, I hope that helps, and good luck.